All right, whether you've been on the road for 20 years or just 20 days, how well do you really know the rules? I mean, really. We're going to dive into a fun little pop quiz using official questions to see if you've still got what it takes. So, the big question is, do you think you could pass your driving theory test today, like right now? Let's be honest with ourselves. We're going to find out together. First up, take a look at this. What on earth does this sign mean? Got any ideas right off the bat? It's definitely one of those that makes you go, Now, if you're stumped, don't worry, we're going to come back to this one at the very end, but it's a perfect example of how road signs are basically their own language. And to understand that language, you've got to learn the alphabet first. And that's where we're starting. Section 1, Decoding the Signs. You see, before you even try to memorize dozens of different signs, you have to get a feel for the basic grammar. It really all starts with the shapes and colors. They're your first big clue. And here's the key thing to remember. It pretty much boils down to two main shapes. Just think of it like this. A triangle? That's a warning. It's like a little flag saying, hey, pay attention, something's coming up, like a sharp turn or a junction. But a circle, that's totally different. A circle is an order. It's not a suggestion, it's telling you something you absolutely must do or must not do. Okay, so let's zoom in on those circles first. This brings us right into section 2, commands and prohibitions. Yeah, these are the signs that aren't messing around. They don't suggest, they literally lay down the law. All right, let's start with a really common one. I mean, you see this sign all the time, but what's the exact rule here? What's it telling you to do? I'll give you a second to think about it. Got it? The answer is that you cannot drive beyond 50 kilometers per hour. And that word beyond is super important. It's not a target speed, it's the absolute max. And why? Well, it's simple, really. These signs are put up in places where your reaction time is everything. Sticking at or below 50 gives you that critical braking distance you might need to avoid an accident. Okay, on to the next one. We've got another red circle, but this time with a big white bar across it. What's the command here? The best clue is to think about where you usually see these signs. This one means no entry. Super simple, but incredibly critical. This isn't just a friendly tip, right? It's there to stop one of the most dangerous things that can happen on the road, a head-on collision. You usually see it at the end of a one-way street, and yeah, ignoring this sign can have some really, really bad consequences, fast. Okay, so we've nailed down the commands. Now, what about the warnings? That takes us to section 3, warnings on the way. Remember, these are our triangle signs, the ones giving you a friendly heads up that there's a potential hazard just up the road. All right, let's do a quick scenario. You're just driving along and you see this triangle sign up ahead. What's the number one thing you should be doing? What's your immediate reaction? The right answer is you need to slow down and be prepared to stop for pedestrians. And that little phrase, be prepared to stop, that's the whole ballgame. It doesn't just mean you kind of glance over at the sidewalk. Nope. It means your foot should be off the gas, ready to hit the brake, because you're actively thinking someone could step out right now. That is the difference between a nice, safe stop and a very scary close call. And what about those zigzag lines you see on the pavement? They're totally connected to this sign. They're not just there for decoration, They're a giant, high-visibility signal that's basically screaming at you, pedestrian crossing ahead. They're designed to catch your eye from way back, so you have plenty of time to sharpen your focus and start scanning for people. So we've talked about signs that just sit there. But driving isn't static, right? The road is dynamic, and so are the rules. Which brings us to section 4, lights and gestures. We're talking about the instructions you get in real time, on the move. Now, police hand signals. These can confuse even the most experienced drivers. So let's break this down. In the picture on the left, the officer's arms are making a wall to the front and back. Simple. Traffic from those directions has to stop. But look at the image on the right. That raised arm adds another direction to that stop command. The trick is to just see the officer's body and their arms as actual physical stop signs. It's a subtle change in gesture, but it makes a huge difference for keeping traffic moving. And here's the absolute golden rule, the one thing you have to remember from this section. A signal from a police officer in uniform always overrides everything else. Always. The traffic light is red, but the officer waves you through, you go. The light is green, but they tell you to stop, you stop. Period. The officer is the final word on the road. All right, let's tackle another common point of confusion. You're coming up to a traffic light, but instead of the normal cycle, the amber light is just flashing, on and off. What are you supposed to do here? What's the official rule? It's actually pretty simple. You have to slow down and treat that intersection like it has a yield sign. You only go through when it is 100% safe to do so. What it absolutely does not mean is gun it to make it through. In fact, it's the total opposite. It's a warning to be extra, extra careful and be ready to stop if you need to. Okay, we're on to our final section, and this is where it all comes together in the real world. Section 5 is all about the rules of interaction. This is how we safely share the road and navigate around other cars, especially in those tricky spots, like junctions or when you're trying to overtake. So let's put your knowledge to the test. This is the big one, an uncontrolled junction. No signs, no lights, nothing. You've got car A, which wants to turn right, but you also have cars B and C coming from its right. So, who gets to go first? Who has to wait? The answer all comes down to one simple, incredibly important rule. At an uncontrolled junction, you always give way to traffic coming from your right. So in this case, since both car B and car C are on car A's right, car A has to sit tight and wait for both of them to pass. It's a basic rule, but it's what keeps intersections from turning into total chaos. And last but not least, let's quickly cover safe overtaking. Just think of it as a simple 3-point checklist. First, you should only overtake on the left if the car in front of you is signaling to turn right. Otherwise, you're just asking for a collision. Second, and this one sounds obvious, but it's so important, make sure the road ahead is completely clear. And third, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong, don't pull back in until you can see the entire vehicle you just passed in your rearview mirror. That's your proof that you have enough room and you're not cutting them off. Okay, before we wrap this up, what about that mystery sign from the very beginning? That sign means two-way traffic across a one-way carriageway. Basically, it's telling you, hey, you might be on a one-way street right now, but that road you're about to cross is not. It's a super important heads up to look both ways. See, once you know the language, it all starts to make a lot more sense. So how'd you do? Are you officially smarter than a learner driver? We'll leave you with one final thought for the next time you're out driving. What's the one road rule that you think everybody on the road today seems to have just completely forgotten? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.